Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Karen Cozier-Phillips. C-News is live at noon. Topping the news at this time, traffic is backed up heading into Port of Spain. This is due to a depression in the middle lane before the lighthouse westbound into Port of Spain. The Ministry of Works and Transport is advising motorists to use alternative routes into the capital city. The ministry says it has contacted the relevant authorities to assist in returning the lane to its normal operation in the shortest amount of time. C-News spoke with the Water and Sewerage Authority, and it was confirmed the depression was as a result of a ruptured water line. It said workers were on site last night and work will continue this afternoon. We were told the repair work should be completed by 4 p.m. Former national football team captain Dwight Yorke was denied entry to the United States of America while traveling through Miami this morning. According to a tweet by British journalist and presenter Richard Keys, Yorke was refused entry to the country under the border controls put in place by President Donald Trump. Keys wrote, quote, "Well done at real Donald Trump." Manu Ambassador Dwight Yorke denied transit access to Miami because he has an Iranian stamp in passport, #crazy, unquote. It is unclear why the former Manchester United forward was traveling to the U.S., but he does serve as an ambassador for his former club, which regularly sees him play in United Legends XLs overseas. To other news now, opposition member of Parliament Prakash Ramadar has congratulated the Attorney General and government for pushing to take legislation to Parliament to allow for cash bail and plea bargains. On Thursday, AG Faris Al-Rawi said these measures will help clear the backlog in the prison as well as ease the burden on the judicial system. Speaking on Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Ramadar said he welcomes the move, as many people do not have land to use to get bail, and we must also respect the presumption on innocence.
The ability for the police to detect and prosecute, and also for the judicial system to deal with those who are innocent, let them go, and those who are guilty be convicted. The plea bargaining will help a tremendous amount. It is not just about the guilty pleading guilty, It's about getting deals with them, for them to give information and evidence about others who are in criminal gangs, as an example. Americans use it to bring down the mafia. That is my vision, so that you send a chill through the entire criminal corporation, that be careful, you can't trust your colleague, and eventually destabilizes and it crashes. We need to do these things.
Asked if he will support bills brought by the government, even if his colleagues don't, Mr. Ramadar said he will.
It is not an easy decision, but when the time comes, if it is best for my country, I will do all that I can to encourage my colleagues. But if it is that I'm not able to do that, and I could hardly see a situation like that. I mean, we in the past have had tremendous cooperation, but if it comes to it, the answer is yes.
Some crime news now. The bullet-riddled body of a man was found at around midnight on Thursday at Dumfries Road, Lara, Maine. Police are now trying to identify the body. C-News understands it was found by officers of the Court and Process Department who were on exercise duty. Police said the victim was clad in a brown T-shirt, brown three-quarter pants and slippers. He is said to be mixed descent, 5 feet 5 inches tall and dark brown in complexion. And the decomposing body was found at around 4:30 p.m. on Thursday. Police said it was found in a bushy area along the M2 Ring Road, Debe. They found the skull, vertebrae and other human bones. All that is known is that it is the body of an adult. Investigators are trying to identify the remains. The central bank governor says he has been having meetings with commercial banks and they have been discussing the possibility of reducing bank fees, if not for all, for some. He made the comment during a sitting of the Joint Select Committee on Finance and Legal Affairs, commercial banking fees this morning.
In some of the cases, we've actually written to them to ask them what are they doing with fees and charges so that they could either reduce the rate to some individuals or constituencies, and what can they do to assist the whole situation. We've had responses from all institutions, and we continue to work with them on this.
He is hoping that competition in this sector will ensure the bank fees remain in the lower levels.
Yes, of course, it would be related to the cost of providing these services, but clearly in a situation where interest rates have gone down to rock bottom and they try to maintain some profitability, then they would use other avenues. And so this is a natural competitive force, One may argue that it may not be fair, and we would hope that competition would help to reduce that situation.
You're watching the CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. Port of Spain Mayor Joel Martinez says he's not particularly happy with the state of the Port of Spain market. And he says he's committed to ensuring that the conditions for market vendors are comfortable. He was speaking to the media following a tour of the market this morning.
How the process is and what is expected to, so that we can see how we can make repairs or make this place comfortable for vending to take place, and not just for vending to take place.
Martinez says as it is, he isn't happy with the existing conditions of the market.
Happy about what I've seen in some instances. I'm happy about the building that is empty, but when I look around and I see, I don't see a dustbin around. I've seen broken toilets. What kind of condition is that for people to operate within? These people have, they pay rent, they ply their trade here, and they want to encourage people to come to the market also because they are traders. So, dirty surroundings, would you want to come in dirty surroundings?
And your weather forecast is up next with Ian Wallace.
Moisture is set to arrive from Ghana, passing over Trinidad and Tobago through today. So look for added cloudiness and showers, particularly across the hills. It may feel humid at times at 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. And if you're heading offshore or heading to the beaches, seas are choppy to occasionally rough. Looking at 1.5 to 2 meters as you go through the Caribbean, pushing close to 2.5 meters out in the Atlantic and further offshore. There's a mix of north-northwesterly swells of 14 seconds and easterly swells of 8 seconds. Northeasterly winds of 10 to 20 knots may bring some whitecaps at times. Waters ebb for the 2:30 low tide, and then waters will flow again for the 8:30 p.m. high tide. That's the latest weather, and I'm meteorologist Ian Wallace.
The opposition and government continue to exchange words following statements by the Attorney General that government will be looking to take bills to Parliament which will not require the 3/5 majority to be passed in the House of Representatives. This morning, opposition MP Prakash Ramada and Laventille West MP Fitzgerald Hines shared their views on the topic.
The discussion started with St. Augustine MP Prakash Ramada accusing the government of trying to infringe on the rights of the citizens if it passes law without the required constitutional majority. He said the statements by the Attorney General on Tuesday, despite denial, is a warning that government will be taking bills and passing them without the opposition having a say.
There is, I'm sure, a groundswell that is being created to remove Privy Council. And I don't know, I've been criticized for the statement, but I don't know if we're ready for it yet. And the reason I say this, we had seen in the past where there was a political persecution of a former prime minister, where the chief magistrate himself had been, what shall I say, in the hands of high-ranking members of the PNM. That is a matter of record, where the court had struck down a conviction on the basis of apparent bias. That is recent history. So we need to develop that culture where we can trust the institutions.
MP Fitzgerald Hines sought to clear the air on the matter, saying the government has to find ways to pass laws in this country since the opposition has signalled its intention not to give their support.
All he has done is signal an intention, and out of the blue, this Dr. Suraj Rambachan and the rest of the opposition, they jump up and they start to scream about unconstitutional and is a threat to rights. There is no bill now before the Parliament presented by the Attorney General for them to read and say this is a bill that requires a majority, but it is now here without the need for one.
He said no bills have been taken to Parliament yet and we must wait to see what happens. But for those concerned about the legality of doing this, Mr. Hines said there are checks and balances in place.
We come to the Parliament with it as a bill, asking the Parliament support to make it law. If they feel that it requires one, they are entitled to get up in the House and say so. After that, if the bill is still passed, it can be struck down by a constitutional court in this country, as has happened before. Some citizen takes the matter to the constitutional court, and the court will produce an opinion or a judgment upon it. And if the court agrees that it was not constitutionally done or properly done, the court will say so.
Both men were speaking on CTV's Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, political analyst Ansel St. Hilaire says if the government wants to get key legislation passed with the support of the opposition, it needs to work with interest groups in order to put pressure on them. This as he responded to the ongoing war of words between the Attorney General and the leader of the opposition about government wanting to take bills to Parliament which may not require the opposition's support to be passed.
It would be a case of developing consensualism. Sitting at the table and saying, look, yes, you're going to give and take, but we want the best for the country. Well, that requires a kind of political maturity, which we hope will come to the table at this critical time.
He said this would take some skillful maneuvering.
The overriding variable here has to be gaining the wider consensus with respect to the validity and the effectiveness of the particular legislation that you're trying to drive through. If you want good law and the best for the country, and if that message gets home through skillful communication and skillful interaction with the various publics, the various lobbyists, then, like I say, pressure will be brought on the opposition.
In some other news now, $16.7 million have been allocated to purchase equipment to fight HIV/AIDS. This was announced by the Minister of Health, Terence Dayal Singh, at Thursday's post-cabinet news conference. He said these machines will help the country achieve its goal to eliminate HIV by the year 2030, as per the UN AIDS goal. Cabinet agreed to the procurement of machine software to track the epidemic and adhere to, firstly, the UN AIDS 90-90-90 target.
$7.7 million will be spent on software system called Selma, which will help us in tracking, analyzing data as regards HIV/AIDS. Because without data, you do not know the size of the problem that you have.
Minister Dayal Singh also noted $9 million was allocated for the purchase of 2 viral load testing machines.
Cabinet last week approved $9 million to be spent on 2 extra viral load machines, which will go to the Medical Research Foundation at the Queen's Park, Savannah, because they are our major testing site.
Aisha Thomas, the 14-year-old schoolgirl who was reported missing on Wednesday, has been found. Police say members of the Child Protection Unit are continuing investigations into this matter. Information as to where she was found and her condition were not given. We start with news of cricket. West Indies legend Brian Lara is hoping to use cricket as a form of inspiring and uplifting communities. Lara, who says his vision was born out of a similar match held by former Trinidad and Tobago captain Darren Ganga, will on Saturday host a charity T20 match at the Parliamentary Recreation Ground, featuring some current and past West Indian players, with proceeds going towards charity. Kent Fuentes tells us more.
The West Indies batting legend says he hopes to play 1 match per month in a different community depending on his availability. And says the idea is to bring attention to the plight of the communities and in particular their facilities.
We're right here at a very huge facility for sport. We have Sanwo Jablity, I think, plays here. Parliamentary ball players also is here, and a numerous amount of cricket matches. And you look at the facility and it's just not, you know, what you would see in Australia, what you'd see in England or any other places. And still we produce some of the best sportsmen in the world. So, you know, sort of bring their situation to light is something that we also want to do.
But outside of uplifting the communities, what would they hope to achieve when it's all said and done?
I believe one of the messages I'd like to give is the fact that, you know, we are not dealing with failures very well in this country. And I think a very big part of any sportsman's life is to deal with failures, because the more you get knocked down, pick yourself back up and move on. And I believe in life we have a lot of youngsters who are experiencing a lot of hardships, and they're turning to alternative things to do. And this is when you really see how much of a man you are, when you can pick yourself up, dust your pants and move on and do things.
Lara adds he wants the communities to start taking responsibilities for themselves and their facilities and be part of the process of maintaining them while not being dependent on government. The former West Indies captain explains what they intended to do to inspire youth to walk the right path.
I think it's a surge to get into the minds of the youngsters. You know, when we come here on Saturday to mingle, to interact with them and get into their minds. It might be a kid who may want to speak to me and don't like cricket or football or anything at all, but you know, I might be able to help in something else.
And speaking about youth, Lara also plans to introduce the public to a young man whom he believes has the talent to go on to great things.
I'm going to introduce a 13-year-old. He's coming in tomorrow from Barbados. I think he's awesome. People said that I was batted like that when I was 13. Well, I wish I did. Well, I hope I did, because he's just an awesome little youth and you'll get an opportunity to see him. But I just felt that it'd be nice to maybe have a knock with him in the middle, you know, because I was pretty impressed with him.
What's his name, if you mind me asking?
His name is Jacob Bethel.
The first game is planned for Saturday in Barataria, where he will be joined by a host of his colleagues, many of whom have played first-class or international cricket, and will be joined by celebrities from other fields. Kent Fuentes, C Sports.
Turning to some horse racing news now, where the annual Jetsam Awards were held last evening. And even when the dust cleared, entering the winner's circle was This One's for Ron, which copped the prestigious Horse of the Year award. This was one of several awards handed out on the night when horse racing honored its own.
Local horse racing is in intensive care and needs major surgery. But before you could perform the major surgery, you have to ensure that the patient is strong enough to withstand the surgery. So that is what we have to do in 2017. We really need to try and stabilize things. And once we do that, you know, move forward in small steps. And as I said, it will require the cooperation of all stakeholders right across the board in the racing industry.
The President's State of the Union address also resonated with Trade and Industry Minister Paula Gopi-Skoon, herself an ardent racing fan. She reiterated government's commitment to helping the industry with the establishment and enforcement of legislation to assist with the growth and development of all of the gaming industry. But she too sounded a warning for peace in the industry and the meeting of minds to help make TNT the hub of regional racing.
I am trusting that the racing fraternity will not relinquish the objective of developing Trinidad and Tobago as a horse racing center of the Caribbean. But what certainly must not go unnoticed are the proposed plans, which are already in the public domain, for further development within other parts of the region. And you really must take notice of that. So if you're caught napping, the fact is you really will be left behind.
But those sobering words didn't dampen an otherwise joyous night, which saw several horses and their owners receive awards for outstanding performances during 2016. Among the big winners were the two top trainers in TNT in John O'Brien, who picked up the Trainer of the Year award for earnings, and coincidentally, he also received the Top Wins award for his good friend and rival Glenn Mendez. While jockey Ronald Ali won the Top Jockey award, the biggest winner of all was This One's for Run, which copped the prestigious Horse of the Year title. The top 3-year-old colt or gelding was the Impressive Academy Award, which won the first and third legs of the local Triple Crown.
Well, that's it for sport. And that's how we end the C News Report at noon. I'm Karen Cozier-Phillip. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the C News website at ctvtt.com.